So which card you having, eh? Pick a card, 1, 2 or 3. Which one? Or maybe you want to pick 2 of them. Maybe you're drawn to all 3. Make a sort of 3-card reading for yourself. No reason why not. These readings are for you, whichever way you want to do them, okay? But I'm going to go through them 1, 2, 3, and we will see where we get. So let's turn over card number 1. And it is actually number 1 in the deck. It's the Magician. Of course, the first card in the deck is 0, but this is just kind of getting on our way here now. Things are starting to move. So, the Magician, this card tells us that we've actually got it all together, and sometimes that's a reminder because we don't believe that we've actually got it all together. But really, every human being comes with what they need to get things done. Now, if this is a love reading for you, this is saying you can do it. In fact, you know, it's saying that whichever way you look at it, because we've got the sword, the wand, the pentacle, the cup, and we've got them all showing up here as well. As above, so below. They're happening in the sort of mystical sense, up above the Magician here, and it's all set in the woods, so it's very grounded. It's woodland energy, and very powerful card actually. We've got the mushrooms here also adding to the mystical side of it, and reminding us really that everything we see it's only kind of part of the big picture. You know, there's so much that we can't see in this world. We only see a tiny fraction of the actual spectrum of light and energy and everything. Only a small amount of it is actually visible to us. Now, before we can effectively sort of manifest our own magic and really get things done, we've got to be clear on a few things. We've got to recognize that thing, that we are unique and that we have free will. And of course, you know, everything has its other side. With that free will comes a certain amount of responsibility, because a lot of power comes with it as well. So power to your elbow if you picked card number 1. There's actually already power in your elbow, and no reason you can't go forward and actually use it. So the second thing we've got to see is that we've got to understand ourselves and sort of know what we actually want. Now, this is particularly important in relationship readings, because you just never know how a thing's going to go further down the line. And before you really commit yourself, or before they commit themselves to you, you or they, or both parties really, have got to be clear about what they actually want to get out of this. Chances are things will change as you sort of move forward through the relationship, because life is change. How are you going to handle that change together? Is it going to work? If this is someone that you're kind of not sure about in any way, don't overcommit yourself, but go on the journey, see what happens. Just be aware of that kind of great power that we were talking about and the responsibility that goes with it, because you could say be careful what you wish for. That's always good advice. But when this card comes up, the chances are you can get it, and you've got to be sure you're happy with what you're going to get there. So maybe kind of limit things if you need to. Maybe dive in with both feet. It's entirely up to you, but you've got to feel right about it. That's the most important thing. And so you need that those two understandings really to bring clarity to it. Everything we do can become a confused mess if we don't really kind of think it through. And if we don't sort of limit how fast a thing goes as well, sometimes we want to really get stuck into a thing and never mind what happens in the future. But this card says there is a future, and you have got all the tools, you have got all the abilities to handle it. So like, this card really is the first step in the rest of your life. Okay, now we've also got to understand the fundamental kind of ways of the energy of the elementals, and it is a very elemental kind of scene, isn't it, out here in the woods? We can imagine fairies all around. And I've no doubt those things exist. You know, I live in the woods, and the elementals really are very powerful indeed, and can surprise us with the amazing things that they can bring to us. So do be aware of that. Wherever you live in the world, you don't have to be in the woods. Anywhere in the world, even if it's a concrete city, that concrete is poured on top of the magical earth, and it is actually all there beneath your feet. So really try and understand the fundamental ways of the elementals. The physical world, for everything that looks solid about it, is actually made of energy, and we can do what we wish, but only if we know the sort of potential, the possibilities, and what we can actually do with the materials at hand. And this is something magicians excel at, really. And you kind of got to be your own magician with this one. Okay, but it's looking very positive. It's looking like steps forward are about to happen. So, what about card number 2? Did you pick card number 2? If you did, it's number 8. It's Strength. Major Arcana again, 2 Major Arcana cards here in the beginning of this. And Strength. Now, this is a real important one, and this is a bit different to the traditional image. In the Rider-Waite deck, the Strength card is someone who's kind of really quite happy to put her hands in the lion's mouth. Now then, Alice actually looks a bit concerned here, and she's sort of cuddling a deer, which is a very different kettle of fish. An important thing about this card, the Strength card meaning really, is that we need to kind of understand others. That is really where the strength is when we're dealing with people and negotiating people and moving along through the journey of life. That's what that strength is all about. And, it's so easy to kind of mirror things, isn't it? If someone's angry with us, we're going to react the same way and be angry back at them. But that's a normal thing. This card is pointing to that part of all of us, which we've all got, where we're not absolutely normal. We're actually able to be more than normal. And we can react from a place of deep remembering, remembering things in the past, things that we've learned, lessons that actually play into the situation. Now, if this is a love relationship reading for you again, this is really quite positive actually, but it does show that there's kind of something to be careful about here. Alice is quite happy holding the deer, but she looks a bit concerned at what might be coming down the pike, what might be actually ahead of her, and it's as well to think about those things. So we've got all the power of the Magician here. But here we've actually got that, much more clearly stated that we've got to be that bit careful. However, we aren't just normal, especially when it's a matter of love. Parts of the psyche come to life that don't come to life at any other time. So it's a powerful symbol all the same. Now, we can actually treat others the way we want to be treated, to really understand people in the way that we want to be understood, because egos can be fragile. But our true selves are really very strong indeed. So there's strength in this card, but there's also gentleness, and the two go together. There's two sides to everything. In fact, there's many sides to a lot of things in spiritual terms. So be patient. Remember things like compassion. Remember things like healing as well. If you're a spiritual kind of person who's drawn to this reading and drawn to this card, then you've probably got some healing ability in you somewhere. All around here I'm seeing kind of tree sprites and nature sprites again. It's very much a nature card. There's a lot of nature in this deck actually, but both of these cards so far are absolutely full of it. And something else we can see very strongly in the Strength card actually is this blue colour, which is a lapis lazuli kind of blue. I think it's more about spiritual connection than it is about speaking your truth. But both of those things are important, and there is some turquoise here. And if we look at Alice's socks in this card, this is the Tarot in Wonderland, by the way. It's all based on Alice in Wonderland. If we look at her socks, some of the stripes are lapis, some of them are turquoise. So it's speaking your truth and trusting, right, that particularly if you're negotiating in a relationship and you're trying to be careful, like the Magician said in the first card here, this is really important because you will always be given the right things to say. Even if they don't bring you the outcome you expect, they will bring you the right outcome, which is solid and strong and positive for you. So think of that. Mix the spiritual reality with the actual truth that you've learned, because that all comes spiritually. It really does. So did you pick card number 1? Did you pick card number 2? Are you looking at all three? I tend to look at all three because I tend to give myself a mini reading for myself with everything that I draw, because I draw them after all. But what is card number 3? Time to find that one out. So let's turn it over. And it's the Ace of Pentacles. Right, lots and lots of magical intentions here, and lots of kind of strength actually, and lots of power as well involved in this card. This is pretty much about alchemy in my opinion. It's a pentacle card. It's that kind of energy. It's earth, wind, fire and water under the guidance of the divine. And here we've got this coin, here we've got this cake, but it's as if one of those created the other one. No one's saying which way round that is, but that's how it worked. Now this is a really good card to get actually. It bodes really well. It sort of promises that you'll be able to create, and it also promises that you'll be able to share. Now this is either something new coming in, new resources, and if you blend with another person in a relationship, then you do get some sort of new resources which come from actually working together. It's not taking something from the other person. And it's not just on its own giving something to the other person, but in a relationship, you give each other something that wasn't there before with you just as individual people. You know, the sum of coming together is greater than just adding the two of yourselves together in the first place. Something new comes out, something positive comes out, and it's a gift, really. Now, if you try and keep that gift to yourself, chances are, that's quite a good outcome. There's no reason why everyone's going to be out there sort of giving everything away all the time. But this is to be shared, it looks like a cake to me, and it's very much to be shared. It's also, again, a very rural scene, and it's so easy to think, oh, I don't live in a place like this. I haven't seen a place like this for decades. That's not my world. Well, it is. Everything in this world has been built on top of this, if it isn't actually part of this and like this already. I've got an absolutely lovely blue sky here. There are clouds in it, but they're not kind of thundery dark clouds. And I like to think of this card as quite realistic, as much as it's full of alchemy, because it is actually very real. A clear blue sky is a wonderful thing. They happen quite a lot, actually. But some white clouds is normal. If you're trying to grow something, if you're trying to make a relationship flourish and work, or if you're just trying to grow food, to anything that you're trying to grow, you need the sort of give and take of nature and the way it changes. So hopefully it is going to rain at some point to keep all these trees nice and green and leafy. But at the moment, there's no rain coming. Now, you get times like that in relationships, and that's a real good thing. That's when you can really kind of perform together and get to know each other's strengths. There are other times when it's not like that, when something fails, when something doesn't work out, and kind of that's okay. You just have to take the rough with the smooth on that and accept that, it is a natural thing. The attraction between people is always natural. The journeys we're on in this world are always natural as well. So, nothing really to be of concern in these few little clouds up here. It doesn't look a brilliantly sunny day, but life isn't always like that, is it? What we have got is some beautiful flowers growing in the corners and all those lovely trees in the background. So loads of positive things going on there. Really positive card indeed. And if we take them all together, as a reading, then we've got the power here, and we're being reminded of the power that we've got. In fact, so much so that we're being also reminded that we've got to be careful with it. Here's our actual strength in action, things happening, new things coming in, things that we might not understand. But it's all about having the faith, having the courage to go forward on that journey. And here, card number 3, alchemy. It's all going the right way. That's what I think. And it's a very simple thing to say, but if I really sum this card up, it's all going the right way. And what happens next is going to be pure magic. It started with magic, and it kind of ends with magic. And in the middle there is strength. So remember your own strength. Play to your strengths if you possibly can. Okay, well, on that note, I shall bring this one to a close. Thanks very much for watching. Keep it here. There'll be more readings coming up every day. Thumbs up, please, if you've enjoyed it. Leave me a comment, because it's always good to share the journey. And I'll see you again very soon. Peace.